Hello and welcome to another episode of Mr. Muwatir. Lately, I've been trying out a few Lexus models, and I came across this, the RCF. I've been driving it, living with it, traveling with it. So I thought, why not? Let me film another episode in English for you guys, especially that I think most of you are wrong. I've been watching a few videos and reviews about it online, and no one seems to understand it. All of you journalists are wrong. Even Lexus marketing team are wrong. They haven't marketed the car well. I think I have a better understanding of what this car is and what it's meant to do. So hopefully by the end of this video, you're gonna have a better understanding of what I think this car is meant to be and meant to do. What is it? It's called the RCF. What does RC stand for? I have no clue, it doesn't matter. I think Lexus themselves don't know what RC stands for. They probably chose the letters, completed their lineup, and thought, you know what, let's add meaning to the name. And then they decided, RC, Radical Coupe. Aside from the name, the F makes a huge difference on the RC. RCF is not your regular software programmer car. It's a true petrol head V8 monster. The car has been out for maybe 8-10 years. It has undergone a facelift, so this is the facelifted model, and there has been some recent changes I'll show you in a bit. Compared to competitors, let's say RS division or AMG or even the M division, no one does as much changes to the car as Lexus does. Almost everything is different. The hood, the bumper, the sides, skirts, everything is different. It's a totally different car. Look how wide those creases are. And most of the vents are functional. You see this massive side vent? BMW lately and AMG, no one uses functional vents. Even the Cadillac V division have gone away from the vents. Lexus still has them, all functional. The only non-functional vent on the car is on the rear bumper. This is like a credit card slot. Aside from that, everything is functional. Those rims are specific to the RCF, and compared to the massive body and the massive size of the vehicle, I think they can do with a little bit bigger size. Those are 19s, but I like the color of the calipers, which are also specific to the F Sport. These are 6-piston, by the way. If you didn't know, this RCF shares the same platform with the GSF. GSF is discontinued. That's why I think the RCF soon is gonna be discontinued as well. I think they're gonna merge the LC with the RC and have one model only. So what is this car? Why is everyone wrong? This is basically a Japanese muscle car. Don't treat it as a sports car. Don't treat it as a supercar. Don't expect to beat records on the track. This is purely an enjoyable muscle car. Now, similar to the GSF, this has the cross-eyed exhaust tips. We're gonna take a listen later. And in between those tips, you have a diffuser looking piece which is body colored, so it gives it a good contrast in the black area. And in case these are not functional, you have a little bit more functionality underneath. You can see a few blades in the plastic bits. The exterior design, I think, looks new, looks modern, looks recent. So maybe it's recent Coupe RC. However, as soon as you step in, you feel like you travel and you go back in time. It's a time machine. I mean, there are certain design elements in here which feel more ancient than this castle behind me. The buttons, the controls, the layout, the design, the way everything is linear and straight. It looks like it's something designed in the 90s. You even get speakers in the door panels which are larger diameter than the rims. And with all that said, I think this is where most of you are also wrong. This is what's nice about the interior. I mean, it's like an arcade game. It's a video game from the 90s. It gives you proper Japanese retro vibes. No other modern car gives you this feeling. Lexus RCF still maintains this vibe. And you know what? It's functional. It does what you want it to do. It has most of what you need. You have your screens, you have your controls. Everything feels functional. Aside from missing, let's say, the heads-up display, everything else is there. The screen has been updated. It has become touch. It's still outdated, however, but it has most of the functionality you need. And aside from the touch controls, you still have physical buttons for almost everything. They have given you a touchpad in case you want to use the pointers and you want to do sophisticated stuff, but I would say ignore it. You don't need any of this. And that's because almost every function has its dedicated button, and you can move around while your arm and wrist are resting on this gear lever. And look at this material used. It's like a black brushed aluminum. How much would Porsche charge you for that on a Carrera S, for example? Lexus, it's a no-cost option. The screen, while you have navigation, Bluetooth connectivity, using the screen, I think this screen competes with PlayStation 1. I like how Lexus still has this luxury-looking watch in the center. Most brands are losing it. And what also feels PlayStation 1 is the steering wheel. It really feels like an arcade, like a video game. It's so hard, solid, dry, flat. You really feel like you're playing an arcade. You're not actually driving. Even the gear feels the same. I mean, look how gated it is. It goes through a few gates, and everything feels mechanical. Everything feels old in a nice way. I think it feels retro inside. Maybe they should have called it RC Retro Coupe, not Radical Coupe, or Retro Cabin. And what's more retro than colored glass? They have given you golden glass. So when you own this RCF, your life becomes golden. It's like you're looking at life through a golden filter. I think the only detail inside that looks more modern are the seats. These are one of the nicest seats I've seen on any car. Design is lovely, material is lovely, variety of finishes and stitching and materials, beautiful seats. And you have the letters F on the front seats and on the rear seats as well. And that is one of many weird details in the RCF. Let me show you some of the unconventional features of this car. First of all, you're gonna notice the start button is in a very weird position, right next to the screen. But what's even weirder is the size of the gauges. These gauges are tiny, the speed gauges, almost as small as the start button. Look how small it is compared to the main gauge. Now the main gauge is digital, so I think that's all you're gonna need. And this actually changes with the drive modes. So it looks kind of cool. You're also gonna notice that there's a menu here in the F Sport that shows you the rear spoiler. The car does actually have an active rear spoiler. Which M car or AMG or RS has an active spoiler? I can't recall. Also, as a result of the curvature of the roof, look how slanted it is, they couldn't fit a single piece sunshade. They had to split it in two pieces. I don't think I've ever seen this kind of treatment on any sunshade in any car. Something Lexus does different on many of their cars is the way the steering wheel moves. Now most cars, they move up and down. However, in Lexus, it feels like it rotates in place. It pivots around this point. So the angle or orientation of the steering wheel changes when you move it up or down. The F division in Lexus always has like a blue theme, and this blue theme is carried around in many bits of the car. The pedals, for instance, plus and minus, they have blue accents inside the engraving. The letter F is also repeated inside the engine bay, but the nicest detail is the way they have colored or painted the intake manifold blue. That's something you see on only Ferraris maybe. Although the hood vent in black is actually functional, it lets air in. Once you open the hood, you're gonna find a cover underneath. This is only for protection in case it rains or it's sand or dust. It protects and keeps the engine clean, but when you need more ventilation, let's say you're tracking the car, you can remove the cover through the 6 screws and you get more ventilation and air circulation. This is one of the few modern cars that still has a spare wheel. But look how Lexus decided to clean up the space. They have given you a spare wheel cover in the same trim and materials as the entire space. And this is where you get to see the spare wheel. The design of the spare wheel is actually nice. Look how Lexus paints every detail blue. Nothing is left unpainted. Class A, Class B, even Class C surfaces. I promise we will take a listen to the sound of this exhaust. Let's hear it. Sounds good, don't you think? The RPM at least doesn't redline at 4,000 like most competitors. It goes all the way past 7,000. So what's everyone wrong about? Everyone is wrong in the sense that they're comparing it to cars like the Supra, like the BMW M2. And I don't think that's a fair comparison, because that's not what the RCF is trying to be or trying to do. This is not a car that's trying to beat records. I mean, the Supra and the RCF are from the same manufacturer. So you want a Supra? Get a Supra. It's not fair to compare pricing. It's not fair to compare performance, weight, acceleration. Totally different cars. This is more of a Japanese muscle car, like I told you. So it's meant to be heavy. It's meant to struggle with traction. And it's not meant to go around corners. This is meant to go in a straight line. Think of it as a Japanese version of the Dodge Challenger, let's say. You have decent power, you have a big engine, a 5-liter V8 in front of you, and it sounds good. So this is a car you enjoy. It can be a GT cruiser. It's not meant to go on a racetrack or beat records or be faster than other modern cars. But don't get me wrong, this isn't slow either. You've got 472 horsepower, you've got 520 Newton meters of torque, and the car goes. Now you have a few drive modes. The difference is I noticed visually is the rear spoiler. So in Eco, it's always retracted, and in Sport, it's always activated. In Sport Plus, also the RPM is always higher. The gear is programmed to be in a lower gear. And it's more ready to go. I really hate how much this car nags. This is an issue with most Toyota Lexus products. They are worse than a nagging, jealous girlfriend. It's always complaining. You always have the speed limiter. Even in Sport Plus, for God's sake, Sport Plus traction control off, and it complains about the speed. I mean, you're meant to go fast. What this car can also do is probably burn out. It's a muscle car. Let's give it a try. Traction control from this button. So yes, the car is capable of crashing while leaving car meets. It ticks the boxes of a muscle car. It's a retro Japanese attempt at a muscle car. And the weight, why do people complain about the weight? I mean, it only weighs 1770 kilograms. And in modern day numbers, I mean, what does the M2 weigh? The M2 with less cylinders and 2 less liters weighs only 40 kgs less. I'm willing to compromise 40 kg for a bigger 5-liter V8. And when you finally approach corners and you need to do some steering input, first of all, you feel how heavy the steering wheel is. It's very analog, it's very raw, and it's heavy in a natural way. It's not like synthetic heavy like most modern sports cars. It's actually heavy and giving you a lot of road feel. Those shifts are sweet. It redlines. So nice. But here there's a dedicated button for launch control. Let's try the acceleration and see what it's like. So, what's everyone wrong about? They're wrong in the way they're comparing the RCF to other European or American racing or performance cars. This car does perform, but it beats no records. It doesn't have like a clear, dedicated purpose other than looking good, sounding good, and giving you a good time when driving it. It's a comfortable GT muscle car, and this kind of car is a rare breed. Nothing, in the market gives you this retro feel when driving it. I think interior-wise, the only thing that compares to this is maybe the Nissan GT-R that puts out crazy numbers. These numbers here are still within reach. You can enjoy it, yet it's easier to control. It's easier to live with. And this is what I like most about the RCF. It's a true Japanese muscle car. Let me know if you agree with me or not. And for more money, would you pick this over something like a Mustang GT 5 liter? Let me know down in the comments. Thanks for watching. Cheers.